CC, Chris from New York, is one of the most prolific flat earth content creators on the internet. And he has once again proven how little he understands in one of his recent videos. And that is that he thinks the sun and the moon are inside a dome. Or was that outside a dome? Or inside? I can't remember. Play the intro. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Flat Earth Friday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Right, on with today's video, which sees Chris out of his vehicle, you won't believe, filming the moon. Don't panic though everyone, he soon returns to his van and finishes the rest of his video in there. Normal service will be resumed. Take it away, Chris.
That's the moon. Can you see that? Do you see that? Yeah, that's the day moon right there. And there's the sun, if you see that. There you go. Okay. All right. Stand by for a minute.
Right, day moon and the sun. Got it. Thanks for that, Chris. I wonder where he's going with this one.
Okay. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC here. Chris from New York, Westchester County. It's 10/3/23. That was the day moon and the sun. Okay, you see them both right at the same time. That's not possible on a globe spinning in this infinite speed in space.
Well, it is because the Earth is a globe. Here is a simple diagram, Chris, to help you understand the moon's position in its orbit and what phase we would see here on the Earth's surface. The only time it's impossible is the exact moment of a full moon. Only very rarely will you ever see a true full moon around sunrise or sunset, but never in the middle of the day.
The only way you could see the moon and the sun at the same time is if they were enclosed. Okay? Now remember, the moon is self-illuminant. That's right. It illuminates itself.
Which we hear from flat earthers all the time, but what we don't hear from flat earthers is precisely how it illuminates itself. What are the physical processes that mean it's self-illuminating? They seem to be oddly quiet on that detail, but please continue, Chris.
The sun, we're not really sure. Plasma, possibly. Heat generating something, but I think heat comes from all over the area, to be honest with you.
Couldn't get more vague, could you? They crack me up, flat earthers. The sun is definitely not a giant nuclear fusion reactor with a surface of around 6,000 degrees and a magnetic field. We don't know what it is or where that heat comes from, but it's definitely not that.
But hold on one second. Let's focus in on the moon, because I took that video last night. And what I love about the moon is that if that was 238,000 miles away, okay, and it's being lit by the sun that's 99 million miles away.
93, but keep going.
How is that possible that we could even see it in the blackness of space?
Because of the blackness of space. The moon reflects around 11% of sun's light back into space. Now, that's not directly towards us, just into space. Now the Earth reflects about 30% of the sun's light, which is why it looks a lot brighter than the moon in comparison in pictures taken from space.
And where are the stars? In all these NASA photographs, where are they? Where are they? I guess they didn't have a resolution back in 1969, right?
If you're talking about the moon landing, it's got absolutely nothing to do with resolution and everything to do with exposure. If you wanted a photo of the stars from the surface of the moon, the image would have looked like this. Not very useful, is it?
But what about 2023? High definition cameras. We all have them. Hell, we have them on our phone. My camera on my phone is better than any camera out there.
This one good enough for you, Chris? A NASA image with stars in. This one specifically was taken by Hubble looking into our galactic center.
I think mine's 10 megapixels. Now they must be up to like 22 or 30, I don't know. The memory now is up to terabytes now on some of these phones too. Okay, all right. More power than Apollo 11 had in its entire shuttle. Not shuttle.
No, not shuttle, Chris. Command module.
You know, I'm going to call it a tin can, actually, because that's basically what it is.
Good recovery.
All right, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Now look. Be reasonable. You see these pictures, okay, of a solar system flying, a galaxy flying through space. And if you're telling me that that's possible on this magical little land that people think they live on because they were brought up with it, and I was brought up with it too, so I can't get angry. I went through the same thing of this magical, mysterious Walt Disney World land, when really, in reality, all we are is just a flat Earth covered with a dome.
A dome which you have no evidence for, you mean? And the moon can be seen during the day because of that movement that you're mocking. Its orbit around us.
It's that simple. Okay. Imagine just picture, going back to 1955. Somewhere in the middle, right there, early 60s, when they finally figured out the best and brightest scientists, scientism, finally figured out that we live on a flat land and covered with a dome. And they saw the sun and the moon for the first time in a totally different aspect.
That realization has never happened, Chris.
Where they thought it was, revolving around us and all this infinite space and all this other nonsense they learned when they were a child. When they finally figured out that we live and we're covered with a dome and a flat land, what do you think they did? It must have been kids in a toy house. You know what I mean? The first thing would have popped up into my head is like, to just shoot the moon. Shoot it. Do something, So that's what they probably did. And see that it's not a tangible object. You can't land anything on it. It went right through it, I guess. And what would it do? I guess go through it and into the dome.
With what? With what would they have shot the moon with? Absolute archaic thinking from Chris here. He's running a fantasy scenario through in his head which has absolutely no basis in reality whatsoever.
I used to think that the sun and the moon might have been inside maybe the dome, but that doesn't seem like way to me now. I'm looking at it in a totally different aspect. I'm looking at it in a term of, this is almost like a holographic image in a way, but possibly a plasma. It's difficult. You see, none of us know.
A holographic image that produces heat. Right, gotcha. But you don't know that, but it's more likely than what we say. Right, gotcha. All good.
All we do know, it's not a magical Walt Disney World land of being in space, because none of that exists.
See, told you.
So if it's inside the dome here, something's reflecting it, or something. Could it be from the North Pole? That could make sense. That could make very good sense. So kids in a toy store, and then that's really what they do. Now what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to figure out how high the dome is, because if they're going to create NASA, they're going to have to understand. They're going to have to turn that rocket at some point. So they figured it out. They figured it out probably 100 miles, couple of 100 miles, more or less. Who knows? All we know is that turns, and every single rocket will always turn no matter what.
Yes, because it needs to get an orbit around the Earth, not end up at Pluto.
Just like the 5-year-old child when he was looking at the rocket going up. She said to herself, "Is that right?" You tell her, "No, it's not. It should be going straight up." Don't tell me you try to catch up with the spin of Earth. Give me the mathematical computation for that.
That would be then the ideal rocket equation. There we go, my good friend. Have fun figuring out what all that means. Well, there we go. Another fascinating insight into the world of CC and his absolute belief that the sun and the moon are contained within a dome. Or are they? Oh, I don't know. But for now, we're all done and dusted for another Flat Earth Friday. Thank you so much for watching. It truly is appreciated. If you enjoyed it today, please do consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, if you really like this one, then hit the thumbs up too. That'd be very much appreciated. I've been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday for a lady telling us all about the twin solar system. Oh dear. See you then.